I continue writing letters. And my case hits the New York Times front page. An hour-long story in Court TV by 2005 raises national attention to the point where people from across America are writing letters to see how they can help me. They start petitioning in Lower Manhattan in front of the district attorney's office with picket signs. Free Fernando! Free Fernando! Free Fernando! Some good robots here, you know? And they continue doing this even when it's cold. And the district attorney's office or prosecution's office is getting nervous. Because now, even though I've lost 10 appeals, and it almost seems like they can say, ha ha ha, we're okay. They're not. They're not. Because now I got politicians involved. You got legislators getting involved in my case, saying, we want to help you. We want to speak to the district attorney's office, or we're going to bring this to the governor. Attention. And I get more attorneys. I get an attorney while Marianne is recovering from her cancer, who also graduates in her late 40s with a law degree. Just a year out of law school. Her mother helped free, check this out, her mother helped free another innocent man while she was a paralegal. And here's the catch. The man she freed was the first homicide case of Detective Daniel Mazanova. And I'm his second case. So that already shows his track record. Not to mention that during 2005, he's arrested for drunk driving and is found with Oxycontin, which is like a heroin-like pill, painkiller or whatever, which apparently he's addicted to. So this is a man with a troubled past. And this lawyer says, well, I can't do it alone. I just got out of law school and I have a determination. Yes. You know, I am like, I would say in her case, she's like the Red Baron. She's focused on shooting the holes in this case with precision and determination. But she needs other people to fly with her. And the people that she gets to take off on my behalf are some of the best lawyers in America. From New Jersey law professors, one of whom is her husband and a distinguished professor of evidence. From New York law firms, some of the best. And from Washington, D.C. So I get all these lawyers ready to do battle. And the prosecution is nervous because they conduct an investigation, and their investigation, unknown to any of my defense, reveals that I'm innocent. That's because, if I didn't make clear, up until now, they have acknowledged to never investigating. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to stress to you the importance of what an investigation is. I'm not just talking about doing the right procedures with a photo array in which when a suspect is placed in a photograph identification, that a police officer should not say, tell us who's responsible, because that, of course, narrows down the selection process. I'm talking about in a lineup, not allowing the witness to sit down, but that rather he should be standing up so they could see his body. And that more favorably, that it should be conducted one witness at a time in a room, not all together. No, I'm not talking about that. That's part of it. I'm talking about conducting an investigation when you get key leads the way detectives did in this case. Ephraim Lopez told them who did it and they did nothing. It's a shame that had they investigated, this could have been prevented in 1991. But they did not investigate. They had what psychologists call tunnel vision. Tunnel vision is the psychological effect of just looking straight. Almost like as if you're a horse and just have that blindness thing and you just... That's it. All you can see is straight ahead. You can't see the evidence coming at you through the sides. Even though we were giving the police and prosecutor evidence after I lost my trial, they still did no investigation. But now that they're nervous, based on the mounting pressure and the defense team that I have, they investigate and yet they hide the evidence. They don't want to show us. And this is where determination and focus in life, for any of us, leads to accomplishment. That's because after being patient, after fighting and learning the law and getting the team that I had to get, I'm back in court. It's my 11th time, yes, after an 11-week trial. At the 11th hour, meaning there's a certain urgency, that if I lose this case, I'm in there for life. And my accomplishment means that I could very well win this case. And the district attorney's office grew very nervous again because a new judge, Justice John Cataldo, an American-Italian jurist, opens up my case and yes, gives the prosecutor some time to investigate again by right, and then allows them to hang themselves. Because as they continue investigating again, after they hit more evidence, what they find is more evidence that, for example, Wu Lu, this individual, this suspect, fled New York right after the murder. That he was living under a false name, going throughout different states in America. That he had been arrested several times. And that when asked to prove where he was on the night in question, and he claims to be working at XYZ places, none of those places can verify that he was working there. And so I'm offered a story similar to that of Faust. Faust. That scholar who is bored with his life and makes a deal with Mephistopheles, who is an agent of the devil, to which in exchange for worldly powers, he will give up his soul. The deal I receive, similarly, is that if I plead guilty to a lesser form of murder, that I can go home in a week. Now, after 18 years, that's as insulting as somebody farting in a church. But worse, it's something that I have to refuse, because if I accept this deal, that means that the conviction will still hang around my neck. I will still be a convicted murderer under the law. So I refuse this because I refuse to sell my soul. And I have to live for integrity. And I have to live for the truth for my wife, for my children, and for all the people who fought so hard. And so I go to court rejecting that Faustian bargain. And the proceedings go very well. Detective Mazanoa comes in seemingly drunk. This man has the audacity to apparently drink right before he came to trial. Hey. The prosecutor, who was once so confident, is now being shaken up. He's nervous too. They even bring in the judge who sentenced me to try to just prejudice the case against me in a desperate attempt to keep me in prison. And all the judge has to say is that, well, under my experience as a judge, I've never seen such an unusual case such as that of Mr. Bermudez. His parents were crying so much in the audience, and I had to tell them to be quiet. And then there was the incident in which his father, I don't know what his issue is, rose up and said something, a threat to the prosecutor. Yes, that's what it was. My family loved me. And that was a force that was stronger than the lies that were being told in my case. And so, having rejected that deal, now I go before the judge to receive my decision. And I enter that courtroom, shackled, 18 and a half years in prison. And I stand before the judge, and the courtroom is packed. You could hear breathing. Something is about to happen. You hear the reporters with the cameras. Cameras are recording everything, and they're furiously scribbling. And I look back. I see my wife. I just give her a reassuring look. God is with us. My knees are shaking. Then he tells me to rise. He says, the case of the people of the state of New York versus Fernando will now receive a decision. And this is my life. This is it. If I don't win this after rejecting that deal, I could stay the rest of my life in prison. Why? Because the parole board, that governing body that decides whether to release a prisoner convicted of a crime, would want me as a condition to be released to say I'm guilty, to say I'm sorry. How could I do that if I didn't commit the crime? So I could stay the rest of my life in prison. That was at stake as well. And so I stand there before the judge. I stand there looking at him, and he's all high up there with his black robe, right? And he says, I hereby declare Fernando Bermudez actually innocent. And all you hear is, and clapping. And it's just, and the prosecutor gets mad. He has a toupee and it's sideways, and he's just mad. And it's like sideways. He's just mad because he's been battling this case and this thing's all twisted and he's just like that, spinning around, and he just and I just hug my attorney. And I start crying like I had just been born again. Like I just came out my mother's womb again. I was a new baby, born into a new world, released into a new world. The womb of life cutting its umbilical cord. And now, I'm blinking reality as I go outside. And I'm a free man. And I'm happy, yes, of course. Because I've received the equivalent of what can be considered a legal Heimlich maneuver. Except, it's not for digestion, it's for my life. To digest life. And I get out, and I'm blinking in reality. And the world has changed so much from 1991 up until 2009. People are talking to themselves, walking in the street, just talking. And I'm saying, what's going on here? What kind of world is this? Bluetooth technology. Everyone's texting. You can't even have a conversation with someone because they're texting, or then if you talk to them, they know how to multitask. Yes, the directions are that way and turn left, but yet they're still on the phone. I don't understand this. It didn't happen because in my time, the cell phones were this big. They were like a shoebox. Now they're this small. So I'm throwing one and I'm like, okay, how do you work this thing? I don't know. The fashion world had changed. I went through several changes in my life in terms of fashion. Before I got locked up, I was like a b-boy. You know what I mean? I was like a hip-hop guy. You know? I used to be a graffiti artist. You know, I was pretty well known. That's why it makes this case even crazier, because my name, after I had been arrested for the marijuana, was on police files. They knew my name. I'm not a real criminal to say, oh, yes, to give them a false name. I told them my street name. My street name is Most. I was a graffiti artist. You know, I was capable of writing and doing graffiti. You know what I mean? That's what I used to do. And I used to get paid to do it. artwork in houses and everything, you know? And so they knew my name. And they didn't care. And yet, I come out to the society and I have to adjust. And the fashion changed. I was no longer a b-boy. I was an individual who had really sought to cultivate my education. By now I had earned 2 college degrees and I was working on my bachelor's degree in behavioral science. I had earned a scholarship in prison, had taught Latin American history, so I knew a lot about the world. You know, I listened to Handel in my cell, and the guys would be like, turn that off, you know. Guys were mad. At one point I went through a fashion issue in which I got clothing and I wound up looking like Robin Hood, you know, to go to prison visits. And you know, I'm going through different phases in my life just trying to adjust. But now, the style is skinny jeans. And so I'm throwing these jeans, and I catch them, you know, and I go behind and I put them on. I tried to. Can't get them on. And I come out, I hop back on, I tell my boy, yo, I can't get these on. That's the style, dude. So I try to put them on and they feel like leotards. I feel like a ballet man. I can't get them on, that's the style. So I've gotten a better pair of skinny jeans now because I know I have to be with it. And I have to get used to also, really, my first time being a father. My wife and I have 3 children now. And our 3 children, we try to get along. You know, I'm just trying to adjust to being a dad. I can't let me being a miserable person in prison and everything bad I saw affect me to be a sensitive father. I take my kids to go pumpkin picking. I'm the chaperone of my elementary school with all these kids, and I take them to the science fair. And we do a bunch of stuff. You know, I mean, I know how to do Gangnam Style. You know,